welcome. My name is Pawel Huryn. Since 2014, I have been helping organizations build great product and amazing product teams. And I am also one of the 400 PSPO3 worldwide. I'm mentioning it because I will be referring to Scrum in a few places. And today I will tell you mainly about continuous product discovery, although I will also mention product discovery in general. So how to identify opportunities, how to test the ideas before they are selected for the sprint, and why do we need it? So in product, we should be obsessed with the why question. So let me start with the question, why do we need product discovery at all? And before I answer it, let me define the problem that we're trying to solve with product discovery, so that we can think about the solution. So the quote that you see on the screen is a quote from Marty Kagan from Inspired. And the truth about product management is that at least half of our ideas are not going to work. Also, Marty Kagan mentions that strong product teams assume that at least 75% of their ideas won't perform as they hope. So this might be a problem, because when we look on the traditional diagram, this is Scrum, probably the most popular Agile framework. So on the right side, we have creating. So Agile did an amazing, I would say this like this, that Agile did an amazing job in delivering software in small iterations, inspecting and adapting and asking the question, are we building the right thing? So for example, in Scrum, we have this sprint review meeting in which we can, together with the stakeholders, we can review the increment, review the progress toward the product goal, and collaborate on what to do next. And this allows us to adjust the direction and react to changes in the business environment. But the work that is done in Agile or Scrum, I would call it a delivery work. So we take some product backlog items or some ideas, they are implemented, and then we can verify the result of that implementation. So this is building the product and learning by delivering. And that way we can deliver value faster. We can adjust the direction, but if the ideas do not work, it can result still in some amount of waste and rework. And if we assume that at least half of our ideas or 75% of the ideas will not work, implementing them just to find out that those were not good ideas is not the most efficient way to create software or to create products in general. So many people ask different type of questions. So for example, in the Lean Startup, this is general product discovery, Eric Rice asked the question, if customer wants our product at all, is there a market for this product? Can we achieve the product market fit? If we work in iteration, if we work in Agile, so this can be done probably after many iterations, not after the first one or the second one. In jobs to be done, Tony Alwick asked about what are the most important problems that we want to solve, and even if our ideas are correct, maybe we should be working on something different. So he was wondering how to prioritize problems that we are solving. Of course, this is not the only topic of this book. And product discovery aims to answer the question what we should build. So the way to do it in the modern product discovery is to run small experiments in front of funnel to validate ideas as cheaply, as quickly as possible before selecting them for the implementation. So what is selected for if we work in Scrum, what is selected for the sprint? We would like the most risky assumptions to be tested before we start working on this item. And this is product discovery. So, but you may wonder why so many ideas do not work. what is the reason? So Marty Kagan mentions 4 risks that product manager should address. But this is inspired, but I heard Marty Kagan and also Teresa Torres mentioning the 5th risk. So they go like this. The first one is that the things we create, maybe they are not valuable for the customers. Customers will not desire them. And I would argue that in order to make customer switch, we cannot have simply good solution. Our customers need to love the product so that they can choose this over what they are currently using. So this is the value risk. Usability risk, this is if users can figure out how to use it. So maybe we have a great functionality no one knows about, or they just don't know how to make it work. We also, many ideas also do not work for the business, and ideas must work for different departments like marketing, sales, finances. There may be many reasons why our business do not support it, and product manager needs to make sure that different elements of our business, different departments, different stakeholders can support this idea. It works for the business. There is a feasibility risk. So obviously this is something that engineers can address and we ask the question if the technology allows us to do it. So for example, can we integrate with external system? Can we create a reliable algorithm? Can it be scaled and so on? And the last question, the 5th, that both Marty Kagan and Teresa Torres added later, is ethic. So is there any potential harm connected with our software? Do we have a data needed to build these solutions, and maybe customers have some problem with this data? Can we get their permission? So there might be many ethical considerations here. And Jeff Patton and others in the Agile product space, I think many of you know Jeff Patton's work, have been big proponents of the approach that is commonly called dual track Agile or dual track development. So basically, we have 2 streams. One stream is about discovering what to build, and the other one is about delivering, building the product. In my opinion, product discovery has its roots in Lean, in particular Lean startup community. So I prefer to use names which also Marty Kagan uses: product discovery and product delivery. Yeah, the goal is the same. So product discovery is about finding out what to build, and product delivery is about building it, learning, inspecting, and adapting. So what's exactly inside product discovery? I would say that there are 4 points on my presentation, but there are 2 group of activities. So one of the activities, group of activities, is exploring the problem space. So we would like to understand the problems, needs, desires. We would like to analyze data, perform customer interviews, synthesize knowledge, perhaps also analyze some reports or some insights from others. And we would like to map opportunities. And the second group of activity is exploring the problem space. So we would like to identify and test our ideas with the help of prototypes. Although in a moment I would precise that we are not testing ideas, we are testing assumptions connected to those ideas. But basically, yeah, it's about testing what we need to do. So how it looks in practice. A lot of people repeat that product managers decides what to build, and software engineers and designers should focus on how to build it or how to make it pretty. And honestly, it hurts my ears because this is not a task for a single person. This is in line with what Marty Kagan says and also Teresa Torres, that instead of building silos with stage gates, we should embrace a more collaborative approach. So we need to make sure that the designer that is responsible for usability and at least one engineer takes part in product discovery. This will allow us to build a shared understanding, and also we can stay open to different perspective because every person brings different experience to the table. And from my experience, often the best ideas came from engineers, not from designers, not from product managers. So engineers know what is possible. They know how to leverage technology to build a competitive advantage. And yeah, product manager can understand customers, but is not a technical expert, so doesn't really know what is possible. And using engineers, using designers to work together is, in my opinion, critical. So when we have a product trio, one of the primary tasks is to interview customers regularly. Teresa Torres talks about interviewing at least customers at least once a week. So this is not something that we do at the beginning of working with the product, but we do constantly in parallel to delivering software. Marty Kagan said in one of the interviews that we should cancel the interview if designer or engineer is not present. What is important when we start interviewing customer, so we should have some business goal in mind, some outcome that we care about, and then we start talking to the customers to map their problems, need, desires, in short, opportunities. So this is the green layer that you see on the picture, and what's important is that we do not want to ask customers about what they think about the idea, or we don't want to ask them to propose solutions, because people often do not understand their problems. They feel what hurts them, but they are not very good in generalizing, and they also often make decisions influenced by emotions, and they try to rationalize them later. So we should be skeptical about what they are saying, and in particular, we shouldn't focus on asking customers about solutions. And also, quite important thing is do not customers generalized. So instead of asking about their opinion, I usually ask about specific situations from the past. So, for example, tell me about the last time you had that problem. You can ask how they solved it. If someone was helping them, maybe they found some workaround. If they have not tried to work around, this is for me it is a good indication that the problem is not important, because if this is important, I would try to find some solution, at least workaround. So if they have not tried, that might be a good indication that even if they tell it's important, it might be not. And so, for example, our goal may be to increase engagement by 20%. This can be expressed as OKR also. And one of the problems that we identify may be that I can't find anything to watch. But when we keep asking why, the reason may be that they cannot figure out how to watch or search for a specific show, or that they are out of episodes. And usually it's not 1 or 2 layers, it's more like 4 or 5, maybe 6. And after we identify the root cause of the problem, we can start thinking about solutions. What's important is that we do not ideate together with the customers. So what we really want to know from the customers is how satisfied they are with their current solutions and how important those problems are for them and why they are important, how they influence their life, their goals, personal life. What would change for them if we solve it? Anything that will let us assess if solving this problem can drive the outcome, the business outcome that we care about. Ideating is something that we do separately, not with the customers. So, for example, for this problem, display a search box. I can't figure out how to search for a specific show. The solution may be to display a search box or maybe display recommendations. And after we have a set of ideas, we can start testing them. To be precise, we don't want to test ideas, but we would like to test assumptions connected to the ideas. And for those assumptions, we need to perform experiments. I will show you in a moment how we can do it. So experiments test assumptions connected to ideas. This is an example of the customer interview. So quick facts, insights, opportunities. I would skip this one. You can access the my presentation later. So what's important is testing assumptions. So the assumption may be that solving the problem will drive the expected business result, or addressing target opportunity. Target opportunity is the problem, is a different name for the problem, need or desired, and it will drive the expected outcome. So in our case, it will increase the customer engagement because, and here is our assumption, that should be testable. Instead of just brainstorming about assumptions, there is a better tool that we can use, and it's a story map. So instead of just sitting with the piece of paper and writing what we would like to test, we can create a story map. So in order to do that, we need to map steps that each actor, so our user, has to take to get the value from the solution. And we would like to sequence the steps horizontally over time. So a very simplified version. It's in practice, it will be a little bit bigger. So for example, the first step may be that users go to the movies catalog, then system will display recommendations and user selects recommended movie. So this is a very simple story map. And for this story map, we can start thinking about assumptions from different categories, so related to the risk that I mentioned at the beginning. So value or desirability. The assumptions for the first step may be that the user wants to watch movies at all, or they wants to watch movies on our platform. This is something that we can test, because maybe they want to watch movies on YouTube, not on Netflix. And for select recommended movie, the assumption may be that the user wants to use recommendations. And similarly, we can think about assumptions for usability, for feasibility. Sometimes you can use story map to generate assumptions related to viability, so what our business can support. But I usually treat it as a separate category because it is not always related directly to the story map. So this feasibility needs to be addressed separately. And of course, we can also think about some risks related to ethical considerations. So this is a simplified picture. And once we generate the list of assumptions for our idea, like displaying a search box, So we may have, for example, 7 assumptions. We do not want to test every hypothesis. It would be wasteful. There is a large number of hypotheses you can easily generate for every idea. So what you see on the picture is hypothesis prioritization canvas. I will share the link to the original source where you can download it. And Jeff, God help, divided hypothesis into 4 areas. So the horizontal, in the horizontal line, we have low risk to high risk. And the second one is low perceived value or high perceived value. And the sweet spot for us is testing those assumptions that are risky, so may turn out to be wrong, and that are connected to the high perceived value, may produce high perceived value for us. If there is a high risk and low value, we can just discard this assumption because there is no point in implementing something that is risky and won't produce much value. If there is low risk and high perceived value, we can just ship the solution. We also don't need to test it. And if it's low risk, low perceived value, we really don't care, and usually we don't build it because there are more important things on the agenda. Here you have, I will speed up a little bit. Here you see the, so what is important when we create this opportunity solution tree is that we do not want to prioritize ideas like displaying a search box, but we would like to prioritize and focus on customer problems. So it means that we need to understand how important is this problem for the customer, how satisfied they are with the current solution, and if the level of satisfaction is low and they are not satisfied, so it's important problem for them, it's a good indicator that this is something that we should address first. Also, there is a common trap. It is called product dead cycle trap, and it is when the project manager forgets about the why and becomes a waiter. So to please everyone, product manager just take requirements from customers, from stakeholders, and waterfalls them down to the team. There is no vision, no strategy, and basically it's just a feature factory. So to
Hey,
escape
Pawel,
this,
sorry to interrupt. I'm assuming the background noise from you.
It's not from me.
Okay, let me just see, because I only saw it.
I also hear it, but it's not from me.
Let me just quickly fix that. I'm going to mute all, so you might have to unmute, and then we'll continue. Okay. So if you unmute, you should be, yep. Okay.
Sorry. Is it better now? Is it better now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
I wasn't sure because I was trying to validate, and see if it's coming from anybody. But please continue.
Yeah, thank you for, yeah, it was annoying. So, yeah, so to escape this trap, we need to think in a long term. So understand why we are building this product, who is our target customer, what are the underserved needs that we should really target. And also, in order to escape this trap or avoid it, we really need to understand the problems. And it might be sometimes problematic because sometimes customer or stakeholders came with some idea and just orders us to implement it, in particular some powerful stakeholder. But in that case, I would just ask why it is important and what are the success criteria to understand the reason of implementing this feature. And after understanding it, I would try to reform or reverse engineer it so that we define the problem and the solution that the stakeholder proposed is only one of the possible solutions, but we agree with the stakeholder on the acceptance criteria. And it's important to respect stakeholders, but the authority shouldn't influence what is important. So sometimes it's just necessary to question solutions and push back things that are handed down to you. Okay, so we have I have presented solution opportunity tree. So mapping customer problems related to business goal that we care about, then generating ideas together with engineer and designer, and identifying assumptions for those ideas that we can test. Here we know that we should prioritize problems, not solutions that are on the bottom of the opportunity solution tree. So now how we can test, what are the types of experiments that we can perform. And I will once again refer to Marty Kagan. So Marty Kagan listed 4 types of experiments. Low fidelity prototype, user prototypes. So this is something that I used in the past. I used Balsamiq, so those type of prototypes can be done really fast, like in hours or sometimes even under 1 hour. And it doesn't look pretty, but that way you can validate some assumptions about value. The other type of experiment, the other type of prototypes is high fidelity user prototypes. So high fidelity user prototypes, you can use Figma, Sketch, Adobe, and it aims to test also the usability part in more detail, so including UI, not only some flows and interactions. Another type of prototype that you can sometimes see in, for example, in extreme programming are feasibility prototypes, like, for example, spikes. So basically, this is some work that needs to be done by developers to address the feasibility risk, like some algorithm, some scalability issue, integrating with library, integrating with the external system. And I think most of us have seen it at least once. And live data prototypes, this is the most important, the most advanced type of experiment. It basically requires implementing some part of functionality, but this is not a real product. And it is often used in A/B testing or invite-only testing. So this type of application doesn't have to support a lot of users. We can, in A/B testing, we can just say that 1% of users will see a new version of the application. It is not intended to implement all the possible scenarios, maybe only the simplest one. We can skip advanced testing, we can skip scalability issues, we can skip internationalization, so it can be only in English, for example. So also performance is not that important. We just want to test some part of application. So create this prototype, but it must be working with the real production data, so that we can generate real data and then use analytics, compare the current product with the new version. Okay, and now you may wonder, this is the reference to Scrum that I would like to do because yeah, most of us, I assume, work or have worked in Scrum in the past. So how to combine continuous product discovery with the Scrum framework? Let me present you a few quotes. So I would make a distinction between the initial product discovery, because before we have a product that is well defined, and according to the Scrum guide, we have the product has clear boundary, has known stakeholders, well-defined users or customers. So if we are just starting working with the product idea, like in the lean startup, Scrum may not be the best solution because it simply requires to have the product defined, and we are in the initial product discovery, we don't even know who are our customers. We are trying to define value proposition and test our idea often with the MVP prototype. So initial product discovery aside, and for the continuous product discovery, this is the time when we have a product that has boundary, has known stakeholders, has well-defined users and customers. And in that case, continuous product discovery should run in parallel to product delivery. And we interview customers regularly, on ideally every week. And it allows us to validate our ideas, at least the most risky assumptions before they are selected for the sprint. And here I collected artifacts of the product discovery and of product delivery. They are different, but I think I will skip it. You can read it later. It is just to show that product discovery and product delivery are two different things. And you already have seen that picture. So if we connect the dots, product discovery generate ideas for the product backlog. Some of them may be validated, although I do not fully agree with this quote from Marty Kagan that product discovery results in a validated product backlog, because some ideas which are not risky can be directly implemented, and this is also supported by Teresa Torres. So we just take some low risk ideas and we can ship them and then learn by after delivering. Product discovery is a little bit messy. I would say that it is more dynamic, so it's hard to have this constant rhythm. But it consumes a similar amount of work every week. So if you care about story points, about velocity, it shouldn't affect it. So it should be similar every week. And you can put all those draft ideas in the product backlog, but I would say that you don't have to do it. So for example, if there is a work connected to interviewing a customer, for me, it doesn't make sense to put it in the product backlog because this is something totally different, and we would keep our notes on some Confluence page, or we will have some meeting in the calendar and making a product backlog item only because we need to interview the customer. It's not related, really not related with the sprint goal. This is something that is done in parallel, but if you want, you can implement some workflow of product backlog items and have some draft states for the ideas that needs to be validated. So some recommended materials. I will share this presentation on this page that was visible at the beginning. So opportunity solution tree, great article by Teresa Torres, the product that cycle trap article about this trap, Silicon Valley product group on prototypes and 4 types of prototypes. This has been written by Marty Kagan. Hypothesis prioritization canvas that was visible. You can download it for free. Teresa Torres video about introduction to modern product discovery. And what's interesting, I mentioned jobs to be done by Tony Ulwick, and this book can be downloaded for free as an ebook or an audiobook. So yeah, it's it's interesting that you can get it for free in a digital form. Also, I collected some recommended books. So Inspired, the best book for product managers, in my opinion, and it discusses the principles of product discovery and yeah, the truth about the product management, that most of the ideas will not work. The MAM test. So to say it shortly, you shouldn't ask your mom if your business idea is a good idea, because she loves you and she will lie to you. So I am simplifying, but this is this is the conclusion from the book. Continuous Discovery Habits, #1 book about continuous product discovery. Build Trap by Melissa Perry is about why we shouldn't let our customers design solution and why we should focus on the outcomes, not on the output. And Radical Focus by Christina Wodke. This is a book about OKRs and why we should have, why OKRs are a strategic tool and why there should be only one OKR for every team and for every business model. So it's really interesting. I will also paste a link to, so this is not connected directly to the presentation, partially the biggest collection of product manager learning resources, so books, podcasts, videos, internships, free courses, conferences for the next year, framework, blogs, and much more. And I keep this list updated, so you can find it, easily find it, and yeah, for example, look for the internship or look for some free product management course. Do you have any questions?
So maybe, Paul, just quickly before we jump into questions, could you give me maybe the links that you share? And also, people have asked me privately about presentations. So if you could, if you're okay, send me the email and then the link where they can get these. Because I think Paul is one of the people that has like so many great resources. If you're not following Paul, follow him. He posts regularly and has some really good stuff. But maybe, put in the chat any links that are quickly, and I'll put them in helpful resources. And yeah, let's open up for any other questions that people might have. So one of the questions from Kyle, I don't know if you can see, but how
I don't see it.
Okay, no, that's not a question. Sorry, it's more observations. There's Shaif is asking, how can we learn about validation experiments?
So how can we learn? So yeah, maybe I'm not sure if I understand the question. So how can we
Shaif,
learn
maybe could you go off mute and just
Yeah, hi Pawel, this is Shifali. So my question would be like, is there any consolidated way to learn about the various type of validation experiments that we can, or it, like I know it depends on the product to product as well and industry to industry, but is there like in the product management, like whatever resources and tools and learning we have, there is not much material on the validation experiments. So
yeah, and to be honest, in Inspired, Marty Kagan describes different types of prototypes, but you can learn about it, but this is not a full list of everything that can be done to validate a business idea. And I think I would recommend Testing Business Ideas by Alexander Osterwalder, and I forgot other people. So yeah, Testing Business Ideas by the Strategizer. This is the most comprehensive book on this topic, in my opinion.
Okay.
So different types of experiments and not only MVPs are described there in detail.
Okay.
Another question. I think I answered the one where you had an example of 20% increase by 20. That was just an example. of an outcome. Yeah. Where another question is, where can we read more?
But sorry, it should be outcome that the team can influence. So it shouldn't be an outcome like increase revenue or even decrease the churn rate, because it depends on not only it doesn't depend on a single team. It's also marketing, customer success, support that can influence. So it's important that the team works on the goal that they can influence.
Great. Yeah, I think the scope is always something. How much influence do we have? Satya is asking, where can we read more about dual track Agile?
Right now, I don't have a good source for it, but I guess you can find some articles on Medium. I can collect recommended materials.
Yeah, and maybe
It's-
just either send it to me and I'll add it to the helpful resources.
I will.
You can check it
Okay,
out.
I will include it.
Okay. One more question here from Ashish is, what can be done if we don't use sprints in startups?
So if you don't use sprints, I think it doesn't influence product discovery, the initial product discovery or continuous product discovery at all. You still will have some backlogs, the list of works, things that needs to be done, some list of ideas that needs to be implemented, and yeah, you can use flow and some lean practices just to do it continuously. But you still need to interview your customers. You still need to map opportunities, so problems, needs, desires. You still need to validate ideas before selecting them for the implementation. So I don't see a big difference from that product discovery perspective.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. As far as I see questions in the chat, Abiodun, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. You have your hand up. I don't know if you have a question or.
That's absolutely spot on. Thank you, Mijak, and great presentation so far. So I think I just wanted to point to something, and I'd like you to just make that distinction. What is the difference between assumptions and ideas? And in your presentation, I think you did note that do not validate ideas, but validate assumptions.
Yeah.
I know that sometimes there's that thin line between both of them.
So the assumption, so the relationship between ideas and assumptions, it is not one-to-one. It's not one-to-many. So some assumptions may be common for more than one idea. And the assumption is something that we can test. So as I presented, let me go back to a few slides. It won't be pretty, but yeah, here we are. So it was a user story map. So for example, an idea may be to display a search box, display recommendations, right? And for this idea, we have identified 5, 6 assumptions. So the assumptions for displaying recommendation idea is that user wants to watch movies, and if they don't want to watch movies or don't want to watch movies on our platform, then this idea is not correct. But this assumption may also be important for other ideas that we have on our opportunity solution tree. And some assumptions may be specific only for this idea of displaying recommendations. So for example, our technology allows creating a reliable recommendation algorithm. This is specific probably only for this single idea.